let's focus on that big story that every single person is talking about, especially political analysts. The political landscape in Rift Valley may have just changed. We do know that Independence Party Kanu has officially declared that it will support the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta. The party's National Executive Council announced its backing for the president Thursday following day-long meetings. Of course, this now creates a lot of questions for political analysts as well, looking at this happening just barely 6 months to the next general election. So let's speak to Danstan Umari, political analyst. Good to see you, Danstan. It's been a while.
Oh, great, Linda. We're back.
All right, and we also have Gabriel Mudhuma, a political analyst as well, speaking to us this morning. Gentlemen, let me just pick your thoughts on what happened yesterday with Kanu, saying they will support Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election bid. Mudhuma, let me start with you.
Thank you, Linda, for having us here. But first of all, I think it would be a disservice for us to go without sending a word of condolence to the dearly departed governor of Nyeri County, to his family and the residents of Nyeri. We are with you in this burden, and we hope everything moves okay, you know, bringing his body back and everything, and we hope everything runs smoothly. Having said that, let's come to the issue of Kanu.
Okay, hold on. Danstan, maybe you want to...
Let me also pass my condolences to the governor of Nyeri and the people of Nyeri and the nation at large for losing our governor. It's a very serious blow at this time. We expected that he's ailing, he'll come back home safely, but now that the inevitable has happened, let us accept, let us give him a decent burial, and may the people of Nyeri be united together when they have this grievous injury that has been caused by death.
Indeed, and even for us as KTN, we are sending our condolences to the family as well. All right, so let's go back to Kanu and the decision that was made yesterday. Mudhuma.
Two things suffice. Number one, we have to be very clear, Linda, that Kanu is supporting Uhuru, not Jubilee. All right? They did that initially.
Okay, can you break the two?
No, it's a fact, and Omari will agree with me on this one. Kanu is supporting the re-election of President Uhuru, not Jubilee, because they are fielding candidates in every other elective seat. So that has to come out very clearly, you know. So let us not be confused when we say Kanu is supporting Jubilee. I've had people tweeting and sending word that Kanu is back in Jubilee. They are not. They are supporting the re-election, and this has to come out very clearly, the re-election of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
So they're just with the president.
Exactly. So what comes in, really, it is an added advantage for Uhuru, primarily because many people thought that we were looking for Kanu to field a presidential candidate. And I think the chairman, Gideon, was very categorical that he did not have those plans, which really kept things out of balance when you saw Nick Salat going to Bomas and saying, to Kondani.
And that, you know that really confused people.
Actually, many people are confused because you're talking about almost 2 weeks ago, maybe. And then here today, he's saying, you know, we are here now. So I know people are kind of confused, but at the end of the day, the meeting that we all saw last week, which you hear had actually some boiling points even in Jubilee, there was an element where people are saying we were not really consulted on how Kanu was coming back in to support the re-election of President Uhuru. So I'm glad that this came out, and I'm also glad
Why are you
that,
glad?
Well, you know, really there was a little bit of confusion in the Rift Valley. Let's give it that. And I know Mari is laughing because he wants to say something about it. There was some element of confusion. You know, Gideon, as a senator, let it not be lost that he comes from the Moi family. We know there is a serious kind of support from Mzee himself. I'm not talking about Gideon, from Mzee himself. And that's why you saw President Uhuru Kenyatta going to sit with him. And again, don't pull it out from his rag that they have not been consulting. They have, because really, President Uhuru is a protege of President Moi. So in the grand scheme of things, it has softened some divisions in the Rift Valley.
Really?
By him
Danstan.
coming, trust me.
Danstan, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are simple. One, the mother of the sitting head of state, Mama Ngina Kenyatta, goes and visits retired President Moi. The discussions are not clear what they agreed. The head of state, the son of the mother, goes and sees the retired president at Cabernet Grove. They discuss. One thing out of curiosity is that the deputy president is not involved.
Should
the
he have been
handlers
involved?
of the deputy president are not present. What discussion was there, nobody knows except the two former family, one former President Moi's family and the current president's family. So the question is there, what is likely to happen that the Deputy President William Ruto was excluded in these discussions? Number two, Kanu has come out very clearly and said they are supporting one person, President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta's re-election. And they are going to put candidates in all other seats, up to and including the Deputy President's position, because they have not said they are not going to forward a candidate for the Deputy President's position. So the question I'm asking, is Gideon Moi the running mate of Uhuru Kenyatta? That is a question that any...
Are you seeing the look on my face right now?
Any analyst will look at it, because they have said they have... The only seat that Kanu is not going to field a candidate is the president's seat. We know under the Kenyan constitution that is there that the seats available for elections are an MCA, there is a member of parliament, there is a women rep, there is a governor, there is a deputy president, and there is a president. They have said they will not go for the top seat. So those are the speculation that people are asking. What agreement was done between the mother of the president and the president as regards to Gideon Moi? That is another issue. Two, when you look at the type of body language Kanu comes to the president, it is not Kanu coming to Jubilee. Remember at Kasarani, Jubilee was very categorical. It is a six-piece suit. JP from up to down. Kanu is saying they will field their own people. Is Jubilee going to change their policy?
But
and
even
now
the deputy...
Jubilee becomes a coalition.
But you remember even the other day, the deputy president was very categorical. He said, hakutakuwa na madoadoa,
yes.
Kama ni barabara ni hii.
That is what I say. The deputy president is very categorical that it is either Jubilee or you have nowhere to go. He has even fronted somebody for the senator's position in Baringo.
His own ally.
So, his own allies. Are we likely to see what normally happens in every elections? Let me, Linda, take Kenyans through this. The presidents have never gone twice for re-election with their DP or their vice president. George Saitoti at Kasarani, he knew he's very well going to be grounded. What did the President Moi say? Urafiki na Professor Ntofauti. He dumped. Kibaki brings in Kalonzo. When Kalonzo was expecting to be the person, Kalonzo was dumped. Raila Odinga with his NDP, when he came in, he was dumped. Are we likely to see the president also being the same politician every president is, leaving William Ruto and going for Gideon Moi?
Mudhuma, we have less than 6 months to the general election. How possible is this?
And I agree, Linda. I mean, the time factor really is not an advantage anymore to any coalition. But I think the place I would divide the view with Omari is really
Omari
if you have to support the president like Gideon has done by design, you have to support the deputy president.
That is what I was just about to say.
And really. There's something, Omari, that people must get when it comes to Rift Valley. It is very hard, and trust me on this one, Linda, it is very hard for them to throw power, having come so close to it at this point. Even Gideon himself knows. He really knows. And when Moi comes in to sort the matters in Rift Valley, that just tells you, all right? He has to sit down. And at some point, I guarantee you, there's going to be a meeting, which is going to happen where Gideon and DP Ruto are going to be brought together. Because I guarantee you this, you cannot go to an election as we are right now with the uncertainty and the ambiguity which everybody, like Danson is saying, which exists currently. You have Ruto's handlers who are feeling, like Danson has said, put it very eloquently, who are feeling that they've been left out in these discussions. But I go back to the fact that Uhuru is a protege of President Moi. He does not require any person all right, to speak on his behalf. Well, we saw the mother go there, but again, there's a relationship there. You know, we are looking at two families that have come from far. I mean, we know there was a relationship before with the late President Jomo Kenyatta and the Moise family. There has been a long-standing relationship. So here comes in Uhuru to go and see the master of politics, his father who bred him in politics.
The man who picked him up.
Who picked him up. So really we cannot read a lot of things in those lines. However, people want to deviate that and say, you know what, by him going, he's leaving, you know, Ruto and his men.
Dunstan is reading a lot.
Oh, so much,
Dunstan, wait. So Dunstan, you're saying that the possibility of Uhuru Kenyatta picking Gideon Moi as his running mate are high?
Very high.
So explain to me how that is going to happen, because understandably so, if Uhuru Kenyatta runs for president, of course he's running for president in 2017. Right. Of course his running mate is Deputy President William Ruto. So at what point will Gideon Moi come into this?
I'm very categorical that as a lawyer, there is no permanent friends in politics. William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta came very close because of the ICC.
Right.
It's no longer there. Now the president will look at who the opposition is going to name their candidate. Remember, to date, the opposition has not landed on anybody. There was rumor that the opposition, NASA, was going to give Gideon Moi that position. And that is why Nick Salat was saying, to Dani. Now that the opposition have said they are not giving him, suppose the opposition gives the UDM guy,
Musalia Mudavadi.
Not Musalia Mudavadi. If they give one of the Kalenjins to be the candidate of NASA, then the president will have to relook whether William Ruto or William or Gideon brings any value. Because suppose they give Ukurokot, suppose they give Murgur, or they get another person called Arab somebody and give him to be the candidate of NASA. Will William Ruto and Gideon Moi bring any value to Uhuru Kenyatta? There is no permanent interests in politics. For now, William Ruto, remember there are only two hustlers in the presidential race. And William has identified himself as a hustler, from selling chicken to the deputy president. Another hustler is from Sekuru. Kalonzo Musyoka from nowhere to the vice president. When you look the others, they have the pedigree blood of a dynasty. Musalia Mudavadi's father was a cabinet minister. Raila Odinga's father was a former prime minister and vice president. When you look at Gideon Moi, you see them. When you look at Uhuru Kenyatta. So there are two strangers to the throne who are fighting. And William Ruto is so strong on the ground that he believes that he must fight his battles out to edge out the retired family, the retired President Moi's influence. Or else come 2022, that family will front Gideon. So there is no way, I don't see these people agreeing, because Gideon believes he'll be in the ballot in 2022. William believes he'll be in the ballot in 2022.
There was an agreement.
You see, you know what, Linda? I'd like us to stick to 2017, because this is where the issues are. I told you that's what is reading.
No, but you see, we have to focus on 2022 as well. Because everything that happened yesterday shapes
But right now, let me tell you, there's something that the community, and allow me to just say this name, the Kalenjin community and the Rift Valley community are not going to do. They are so close to power. And this community has a way of putting people into relevance and into irrelevancies, just the same way the Kikuyu community has done. You may recall when during Kibaki's time, when he was bidding for president in 2002, Uhuru became irrelevant, yet he was fronted by Moi. The Kikuyu community made sure that he was irrelevant so that they can get into power. All right? As Kibaki came to finish his term, Uhuru was made relevant by the community so that he can come into power. Same thing is happening in Rift Valley. Trust me, Ruto is not going anywhere in the shift of power. Gideon has already said, and Gideon doesn't want to play with this because he does not want to make the waters murkier as they have been in the past. You saw them fronting, you know, during the senator in Kericho. You saw how the situation was. And I think that is what the community in the Rift Valley want to run away from. They do not want to make the situation as murkier as it has been in the past.
Straight question in a minute.
Yes.
Does William Ruto have a reason to worry?
At this point, I don't think so, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Number one, Gideon has said he's going to his Senate seat. He's really
He'll
going
defend
to
his seat.
he'll defend his seat. I honestly would have had some issues if Gideon was saying, you know what, we are coming in as a coalition.
They're not.
They are not.
Okay.
They are coming in to support the president. Had they said we are coming in as a coalition, because when you're coming in as a coalition, you know you're coming in for a stake.
Okay.
All right?
So
And that would have... I don't think so.
Umari, does Deputy President William Ruto have a reason to worry?
That's what I know he'll say yes.
By body language and conduct, yes. Let us look at the sequence of events.
Yeah.
When the meeting between President Uhuru Kenyatta and the retired president happened, the deputy president disappeared out of circulation for a whole week. The only time the deputy president appeared, he appeared without the normal trappings of power, with his own son driving him. What was the message being passed across? He went and sat in church behind like an ordinary citizen. Was the deputy president agitated? Was he not posing a security risk to this nation? When you see, when I say my deputy president walking without security, that's a very serious issue.
I agree.
So in my own view, there is the body language that tells you all is not well. And in my own view, what I'm saying is that the Kalenjins are also looking at one question. Is William Ruto electable? Will the Mount Kenya people vote for him come 2022?
Okay.
The comparison is between who will be likely be voted for. And that is why Gideon is coming as a better alternative, a person who can be voted for. Leave whether they will vote, but somebody who is likely to be voted. Remember, Mount Kenya region has never voted for anybody.
Okay, listen.
So in my own view, I think the deputy, there's a lot of things that are not going on well.
Listen, the other reason why Deputy President William Ruto should actually be worried is because NASA is planning a rally there tomorrow.
Yes.
Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandagor has welcomed opposition leaders from the National Super Alliance, that is NASA, who will hold a rally in the area tomorrow. Mandagor has, however, cautioned them against abusive utterances. He insists that the visit by NASA was just another political rally that will have nothing to offer to the electorate. NASA principals Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi announced that they will hold their first rally in Eldoret after signing a coalition agreement on Wednesday.
Na wakikuja hapa, especially now that they will be in my county, they should be telling us what plans do they have for the farmers. What plans do they have in terms of infrastructure development in this county? Wakikuja hapa na story. We are beyond the story. We are beyond the story. They should come here with something critical. But anyway, wacha wakuje tu. Hata hii game imeisha. Voter registration tulimaliza, the numbers are out there, the records speak for themselves. Watembe, they are free.
Wasikuja hapa na kelele mingi, wasikuja. Okay, people. So NASA is heading to Eldoret. What are your thoughts?
Linda, that's not an invitation.
What
that
is
is
that?
being called to come and sightsee. Mandagor has put it very clearly.
No, but
You
he
can
says
come-
wacha wakuje tu.
Yeah, come and sightsee. You know, everything has been done. The voter registration is done. I mean, he put it very clearly. You guys, that's not an invitation. It's not an extension for invitation.
No,
you're
but
not
it says-
usikuje hapa na story.
Hapana, amesema wakuje tu. Hata tumemaliza kila kitu.
Exactly. That's what he's telling you. Come and sightsee Eldoret. You know,
Yeah.
they'll come and hold their rallies, really. What I think is going to happen, and I'm glad that Governor Mandagor has said that the voter registration is done, you know, and now we are just waiting to see what goes on here. But let's say one thing. We still have the litmus test, which is the nominations. Now, once that is done, people actually may now be able to, will sit down and be able to balance, because I can guarantee you there will be movements. There will be a lot of shift, not only in Jubilee, but also from NASA. So for them going to Eldoret, we've seen Uhuru go campaigning, you know, opening plants in Western, in Kisumu. We've seen all that. However, Linda, that does not always translate into votes.
Yeah.
And it needs to be said categorically, and people to understand that you may pull a crowd, but that still does not translate into
votes.
votes. So really, them going to Eldoret, them having, come together and say they have a document that they are talking about. Nobody has been able to see the kind of power sharing NASA is talking about. There's still an element there of also ambiguity, because you're looking at them talking about positions that they will create. Those positions that they will create, Linda, must come back to the people of Kenya who are going to choose. And like Danson has said, politics is a very capricious game. In that, once you get into power, things change. Raila Odinga, we are being told about a document between Raila Odinga and Kalonzo Musyoka, which was stipulating that, you know what, you will only run this term if you're not able to do. Then there was an MOU, some sort of an MOU. That MOU has already been burnt and shelved. Nobody's talking about that. So it brings the capriciousness in all this, in all this talk. You have agreed. What you've agreed has just been agreed in a boardroom. It will not suffice. It will not go that way, because you're looking at only two powers that the Constitution allows, the President and the Vice President. These are the things that you're talking about, Deputy President, Deputy who and who and who and who. Oh, please. Let's just wait and see.
Danstan waende tu hata voter registration tumemaliza.
Yeah, wakajionea ng'ombe huko.
Very well. The governor is very clear, and I support him totally. Voter registration is a nationwide issue. It's not about parties, it's not about anything.
Right.
2, will Governor Mandago be in Jubilee in the next 2-3 months, 2 weeks? Governor has serious problems with a guy called Bozak. There is rumor governor is heading to Kanu. So what he's talking now and what will be seen in a few days will be very, very different. The only leader, the only person who has no memory of remembering what they say is a politician.
True.
So what that governor is saying is contextualized today or yesterday when he made that speech. 2, look at the timing of the rally in the deputy president's home county. What now emboldens the NASA to step at the heart of William Ruto's turf? Do they know more than what other Kenyans know? And I've given you the chronology. None of William Ruto's ardent supporters, like Governor Mandago, was in Kabarnet Groves or was in Kabarak. So when we see these people landing there, what messages are they going to have? Are they going to start evoking divisions within the Kalenjin sub-tribes? Remember, they are the Tugens, they are the guys called the Kipsigis, they are the Nandis, they are the Elgeyos, they are also the diaspora vote. A huge diaspora vote, not of Kalenjins, that is in Rift Valley. So when we see NASA landing there, let us not dismiss them as the governor is trivializing them. Then they might come and go away with people. 2, my good friend here, Muduma, tells me that Kalonzo has already lost in an MOU. Raila lost in an MOU. Correct. Even Musalia Mudavadi lost in an MOU signed by the president and the deputy. Yeah. So any politician, let me tell you, when they sign, they don't sign as presidents or deputy presidents or prime ministers. True. They sign as politicians. I agree. And as a lawyer, we will tell you, you cannot move to court to enforce a political agreement. So that is the question we are asking. Is the deputy president being sidelined in the new realignment that was negotiated to his exclusion?
I will ask you that question.
If that is the reality and the timing of NASA landing there, we will see the reaction of the people of the Kalenjin nation, how they will react. So in my own view, I tend to think that NASA going to Rift Valley, one might be academic. Remember during the voter registration, guys of NASA didn't bother to go to that place for voter registration. Why do they go now this time? 2, the tribalization and ethnicization of our voters. Will they achieve anything? Remember, he talked of one thing. 2 communities have had power for the last 54 years. So these 2 communities will never want to leave that power. And they will always vote because they know the sweetness of having power. The other communities have never learned the art of, it is of no value, really. Why do you vote? Because you've never tested power. So will the Kalenjins remember that this is a chance for power to move away from the 2 entitled communities and go to a 3rd community, then rally behind? It happened in Kericho. everybody was voting for Kanu. The last night the message was, remember, power has been with us since all the years. So that is the question. And when NASA is galvanizing the country, the type of politics I'm seeing is that this is the only chance for a third community. It can be a Makonde community. This is the only chance, like a Makonde
You're very
community
ambitious, Danstan,
can get power.
Okay, listen.
Will it resonate well with the other tribes?
All right, so Danstan Umari, Gabriel Muzuma, gentlemen, thank you so much for speaking to me this morning. Danstan, you're very ambitious.
Even the Makonde now, the constitution.
No, he's reading too much in this thing.
Thank you so much for creating time for us on News Center. And I hope these are conversations that we'll keep having. Of course, that whole thing that happened yesterday with Kanu changes the entire political landscape in the Rift Valley. Gentlemen, thank you so much. You're watching News Center.